In 1974, Ray Kroc stood before an MBA class at the University of Texas and asked a simple question: "What business am I in?" The students laughed. It was obvious. The man who built McDonald's into a fast food giant was in the hamburger business. Kroc shook his head. "I'm not in the hamburger business. My business is real estate." The students thought he was joking. He wasn't.
But it wears well, day after day after day after day. It's lean, and it's well digested, and people just want more of it.
Today, McDonald's is one of the largest commercial real estate empires on earth, owning property worth over $42 billion. The company makes more money from rent than from selling food. This is the story of how a milkshake machine salesman discovered that the secret to fast food fortune wasn't in the food at all. It was in the land beneath it. Let's rewind to 1940. Dick and Mac McDonald are running a small drive-in restaurant in San Bernardino, California. Drive-ins were all the rage back then. You'd pull up, a waitress on roller skates would take your order, and 20 minutes later, you'd get your burger. The brothers were doing okay, but they noticed something. Most of their money came from just 3 items: burgers, fries, and milkshakes. Everything else was just noise. So in 1948, they did something radical. They fired all their waitresses, threw out 80% of their menu, and rebuilt their entire kitchen like a factory assembly line. They called it the Speedy Service System. Burgers went from 20 minutes to 30 seconds. They slashed prices in half. Customers went absolutely nuts for it. The brothers were making good money, but they had zero ambition to expand. They'd already tried franchising and hated it. Too much hassle, too many headaches. They were happy with their one successful restaurant. This is where Ray Kroc comes in. Ray was 52 years old and had spent his entire life as a traveling salesman, hawking paper cups and milkshake machines. He was basically living out of his car, going from one failed sales pitch to another. But everything was about to change. One day, Ray gets a weird order from a restaurant in California that wants 8 of his milkshake machines. This was an unusually large order, so Ray drives hundreds of miles to see this McDonald's place for himself. When he arrives, he can't believe what he's seeing.
Your food? No. I just ordered. And now it's here. You sure?
There's a line of customers wrapped around the building, but they're walking away with food in under 5 minutes. Every burger looks exactly the same. No variations, no mistakes, just perfect consistency. It's 1954, and Ray Kroc has just seen the future. He begs the brothers to let him franchise their concept nationally. They think he's crazy, but eventually agree. Ray can expand McDonald's, and they'll get 0.5% of gross sales. Ray gets 1.4% to manage everything. It seems like a sweet deal. There's just one massive problem. Ray starts opening McDonald's franchises, but he's hemorrhaging money. The math doesn't work. After splitting revenues with franchisees and the McDonald's brothers, Ray's take is pathetic. He's charging franchisees $950 up front, barely covering his costs. By 1957, he's deep in debt. His house is mortgaged to the hilt, and McDonald's is growing but dying at the same time. That's when Harry Sonneborn walks into Ray's life. Harry's a former Tasty Freeze executive, and he sees what Ray doesn't. "Mr. Kroc," he says, "you don't understand the business you're in." Harry's idea is brilliant and completely changes everything. Instead of just franchising the McDonald's brand, they'll create a separate company, Franchise Realty Corporation. This company will find land, buy it or lease it long term, then sublease it to franchisees at a 40% markup. Plus, franchisees pay either the marked up rent or 5% of their sales, whichever is higher. Think about that for a second. McDonald's becomes the landlord to every single franchise. They're collecting rent whether the restaurant sells one burger or a million. If sales go up, their percentage cut goes up. If sales tank during a recession, they still get minimum rent. It's absolute genius. But Ray takes it even further. See, McDonald's doesn't just buy any land. They specifically target prime real estate, corner lots at busy intersections, properties near highways, spots in growing suburbs. Every McDonald's location is carefully chosen not just for selling burgers, but for long-term property value. When a franchise wants to open a McDonald's, they don't get to pick the location. McDonald's corporate already owns the land and the building. The franchisee just pays to renovate and operate it. This gives McDonald's incredible control. Don't follow corporate standards? They can terminate your lease. Want to sell your franchise? McDonald's has the right to approve the buyer. But by 1961, tensions were reaching a breaking point. The McDonald brothers had watched Ray transform their simple burger concept into something they barely recognized. Ray was opening stores at a breakneck pace, sometimes multiple locations in a single week. He was taking massive risks, leveraging everything, and pushing into new territories. The conservative brothers from San Bernardino were getting nervous, really nervous. They wanted out, but they weren't going to make it easy. When Ray asked their price, they wanted $2.7 million cash. Plus, they wanted to keep the original San Bernardino location and 1% of royalties in perpetuity. Ray was furious. This was highway robbery. $2.7 million in 1961 comes up to about $27 million in today's money. Ray didn't have anywhere close to that. He'd been pouring every penny back into expansion. His house was already mortgaged. He was living on loans. But the brothers had him cornered. The original contract gave them veto power over major decisions. They could block Ray's expansion plans, kill new initiatives, and basically paralyze the company. Ray needed them gone, and they knew it. This is where Harry Sonneborn earned his place in business history. While Ray was panicking, Harry was scheming. He approached a group of institutional investors who loved the steady income from real estate. Harry pitched them something unprecedented. He told them McDonald's wasn't just a restaurant chain. It was a real estate goldmine disguised as a burger joint. The investors bit. But there was one condition that would haunt Ray forever. He had to cut the ongoing royalty to the brothers. Ray negotiated desperately and got them to accept a flat $2.7 million with no future royalties. The brothers agreed, thinking they'd made out like bandits. They had no idea they just walked away from what would become billions in future payments. The deal closed in late 1961, and Ray Kroc finally owned McDonald's outright. No more second guessing from the brothers. No more vetoes. No more compromises. Ray immediately went into overdrive. In 1962, they opened 200 new locations. In 1963, they introduced the Filet-O-Fish and opened their 500th restaurant. In 1964, Ray's obsession with uniformity led to the creation of Hamburger University, where every franchisee had to learn the McDonald's way. But the real explosion came in 1965. Ray took McDonald's public at $22.50 per share. Within weeks, the stock shot to $49. Early investors doubled their money almost instantly. Ray's personal stake made him worth over $35 million overnight. Remember, just 4 years earlier, he was mortgaging his house to keep the lights on. Going public gave McDonald's something even more valuable than money: credibility. Suddenly, banks were throwing credit at them. Prime real estate that was previously out of reach became available. Franchisees were lining up by the thousands. The company that nearly went broke in 1957 was now opening a new restaurant every single day. And here's where the genius of the model really revealed itself. McDonald's had developed 4 separate revenue streams from every single franchise, creating multiple ways to win. Let's break this down because it's absolutely brilliant. First, you've got the initial franchise fee. Today, that's $45,000, but back then it was much less. This is just the price of admission, the right to use the McDonald's name and system. It's pure profit for the corporation. Second, and this is the big one, McDonald's collects rent on the property, but not normal rent. They charge a healthy markup over their costs. If McDonald's pays $10,000 a month for a location, they might charge the franchisee $14,000. That's $4,000 in pure profit every month, guaranteed, regardless of how many burgers get sold. Third, they take a percentage of gross sales, typically 4%, as a service fee. This aligns McDonald's interests with the franchisee. The more successful the restaurant, the more McDonald's makes. But notice, it's on gross sales, not profit. Even if the franchisee loses money, McDonald's still gets paid. Fourth, there's the advertising fund. Franchisees contribute at least 4% of sales into marketing. This creates a massive war chest for national advertising while costing McDonald's corporate nothing. The franchisees pay for the ads that build the brand that makes McDonald's valuable. Stack all these together, and you get something remarkable. A typical McDonald's franchise today costs between $1.5 and $2.5 million to open. The average location does about $2.7 million in annual sales. From that $2.7 million, McDonald's corporate takes their 4% service fee, $108,000, plus 4% for advertising, another $108,000, plus, let's say, $100,000 in property markup. That's over $300,000 per year from a single restaurant, and McDonald's corporate never touches a single burger. The franchisee might make $150,000 in profit if they're lucky, but McDonald's corporate makes twice that with none of the operational risk. The franchisee deals with employees, food costs, equipment breakdowns, and customer complaints. McDonald's just cashes the checks. This model turned McDonald's into a money printing machine. By 1970, just 5 years after going public, they had 1,500 locations. By 1975, they hit 3,000. The real estate portfolio was growing so fast that financial analysts couldn't properly value the company. Wall Street was treating McDonald's like a restaurant chain when it was actually becoming one of America's largest property owners. In 2022, McDonald's made $23 billion in revenue. Guess how much came from real estate? About 36%. That's $8.3 billion just from being a landlord. They own 45% of the land and 70% of the buildings across their 40,000 locations worldwide. The rest, they lease long-term and sublease to franchisees. Let me put this in perspective. McDonald's owns prime real estate in over 100 countries. They're sitting on properties in Times Square, Oxford Street in London, the Ginza district in Tokyo. These aren't just burger joints. They're incredibly valuable corner properties in the world's most expensive neighborhoods. During the 2008 financial crisis, while other companies were struggling, McDonald's went on a shopping spree. Property prices tanked, and McDonald's scooped up land at massive discounts. They turned a crisis into an opportunity, expanding their real estate empire while everyone else was panicking. The franchise model is brilliant for another reason: risk distribution. McDonald's owns the land, but franchisees handle all the operational headaches. Employees? That's the franchisee's problem. Food costs spike. The franchisee deals with it. Minimum wage goes up? Not McDonald's corporate's issue. They just collect rent. Compare McDonald's to a traditional restaurant chain that owns all its locations. When Chipotle has an E. coli outbreak, corporate eats the entire loss. When a McDonald's has a problem, it's mostly the franchisee's problem. McDonald's corporate keeps collecting rent regardless. This model has made McDonald's virtually recession-proof. In 2020, during the pandemic, when restaurants were shutting down globally, McDonald's still made billions from real estate. Even if every McDonald's stopped selling burgers tomorrow, they'd still be sitting on $42 billion worth of property that they could sell or lease to someone else. The company's real estate strategy goes even deeper. They've created McDonald's Plaza, entire shopping centers anchored by McDonald's restaurants. They develop the land, bring in other tenants, and collect rent from everyone. They're not just in the burger and real estate business anymore, they're full-blown property developers. Today, 93% of McDonald's locations are franchised. They're moving toward 95%. Why? Because being a landlord is way more profitable than flipping burgers. The average company-owned McDonald's has profit margins of around 20%. The real estate business, over 80% margins. But McDonald's has an advantage that other real estate companies don't: guaranteed tenants. They're not hoping someone will rent their property. Every piece of land comes with a built-in tenant, the franchisee, who's contractually obligated to pay rent for 20 years. It's the ultimate captive market. The real brilliance of Ray Kroc wasn't the burgers or the fries or even the speed. It was recognizing that McDonald's could use hamburgers as an excuse to become one of the world's largest real estate empires. Every Happy Meal sold, every Big Mac consumed, it's just generating cash flow to pay for the real business, owning prime commercial property across the globe. So next time you see those golden arches, remember, you're not looking at a restaurant. You're looking at one of the most valuable real estate portfolios on earth, disguised as a place that sells burgers. The burgers are just there to pay the rent. And that, honestly, might be the greatest business model ever created. The McDonald brothers invented fast food, but Ray Kroc and Harry Sonneborn, they invented something far more valuable: a way to turn French fries into real estate gold. And 70 years later, that $42 billion empire is still growing, one prime corner location at a time.